What if I told you that one of the most respected, time-honored chess openings is actually a bit overrated for the modern ambitious player? And what if a forgotten, romantic-era gambit is secretly one of the most powerful weapons you could add to your arsenal? So, we're putting 10 of the most famous e4 openings under the microscope, ranking them in a definitive tier list. Today, we're going beyond good or bad. We're scoring 10 major e4 openings on 5 key criteria. First, win rate. Just how often do you win from the position that defines the opening? Second, strategic versus tactical balance. Does it lead to a slow burn or explosive fireworks? Third, theory depth. How many books do you have to read to not get blown off the board? Fourth, initiative potential. How well does it let you call the shots? And finally, a personal style score, rated out of 10 for players who, like me, live for creative, active, and initiative-focused chess. Let's get started. We begin with the Ruy Lopez, or the Spanish game. After 1e4, e5-2, knight f3, knight c6, white's bishop b5 starts a long-term strategic battle, putting deep pressure on black's setup. This isn't a knockout punch, it's a strategic siege. The positional ideas are subtle and require a deep feel for the game, and the win rate is at 51%. While it's famous for being strategic, many lines, like the open Ruy Lopez, can explode into tactical melees. So let's call it a 70/30 strategic tactical split. The theory depth is legendary. Players spend their entire careers trying to master it. Because the pressure is slow and builds over time, its initiative potential is strong but unfolds over the long game. The Ruy Lopez is hard to master, but it is aggressive, so the Ruy Lopez gets in 7/10 from me. It's a sophisticated and endlessly creative way to build a lasting advantage. A tier. Next, the Italian game, kicking off with 3 bishops c4. This is way more direct than the Ruy Lopez, immediately eyeing black's weakest point on f7. It's one of the oldest and most natural openings for a reason, and the win rate is also at 51%, so pretty okay. The plans are generally more straightforward than in the Spanish. It's also a perfect 50-50 strategic tactical split, capable of leading to the quiet Giuoco piano or wild explosive gambits. While the theory depth is deep, it's not as overwhelming as the Ruy Lopez. The initiative potential is medium. You create immediate problems, but a well-prepared opponent can often steer things into a balanced game. It is a great opening at every level, but especially for beginners, and can really adapt to your style. It's a solid 8 out of 10. Active, balanced, and a fantastic all-rounder. I'm torn between A and S. Let's give it A tier. Now for the Scotch game, a traditional opening with long history, with the explosive move 3d4, white doesn't wait around, immediately challenging the center and blowing the position wide open. This opening demands precision to navigate the open, tactical positions, although most of the variation consists of really logical moves, and surprisingly, the win rate is 1% higher. It's built for dynamic piece play, making it about 60% tactical and 40% strategic. Thanks in part to Garry Kasparov revitalizing it, the theory depth is moderate to deep. Most importantly, its initiative potential is high. White dictates the pace and direction of the game right from move 3. This fits our style perfectly, an easy 8 out of 10. It's ambitious, active, and all about the initiative. A tier. The 4 knights game, with 3 knight c, 3 knight f6, is the definition of classical, principled chess. It's symmetrical, solid, and safe. The ideas are logical and based on fundamental principles, but its win rate is only at 49%. The positions often remain closed and focused on maneuvering, so it's heavily strategic, around 70% to 30% tactical. The good news is the theory depth is moderate. You can play it well without knowing a mountain of theory. But its initiative potential is low. Black can easily take over the control on the board. It's so solid and symmetrical that breaking the balance can be tough. It should be noted, however, that some lines can lead to sharper, more unbalanced play, for example, the Halloween Gambit. For our aggressive style, it's a 4/10. A little too quiet for our tastes. Unfortunately, it's only enough for C. Next is the flexible Vienna game, starting with 2 knight c3. This opening is a chameleon. It can be a quiet positional game or a ferocious all-out attack. Its flexibility means you have to be ready for different kinds of positions if you want to play it. The average win rate is at 51%, nothing new. It's a true 50 to 50 strategic tactical split since you can aim for a calm game or unleash the Wild Vienna Gambit with F4. The theory depth is moderate, making it a fantastic surprise weapon against opponents who won't know the specific lines. The initiative potential is medium-high, especially in the Gambit lines where you can seize control right away. It gets a 9 out of 10 for style. The ability to be either a rock or a hurricane is very appealing. High A tier. The bishop's opening starts with 2 bishop c4. Think of it as an Italian game where you delay moving your knight. This keeps your options open, often preparing to support a quick f4 push. The plans are often very direct, involving quick kingside attacks, which leads to a 51% win rate. The balance is a 50 to 50 strategic tactical split. It can lead to quiet development or some really sharp, trappy lines. Its strength lies in its surprise value, so the theory depth is moderate. You put pressure on f7 from the start, giving it medium initiative potential. For style, it's a 6 out of 10. It's active and leads to the kinds of attacking positions we love. High B tier. And now for the beast, the King's Gambit, 1 e4, e5, 2 f4. This is pure, unfiltered, romantic era attacking chess. You sacrifice a pawn to rip open the position and go hunting for the enemy king. It's a tactical minefield for both sides, coming with a high complexity but also with a win rate of 53% as reward. While it's famous for being pure tactics, modern analysis shows a deep strategic understanding is crucial, so let's call it 70% tactical and 30% strategic. The theory depth is surprisingly deep, as Black has many ways to respond, and you need to know your stuff. But the initiative potential is off the charts. This opening is the initiative and even has a good win rate at GM level. For an active attacking player, this is a masterpiece. A 9 out of 10 on the style meter and an earned S tier. How about the Ponziani opening? After 2 knight, f3, knight c6, you play 3 c3. This old school opening prepares a d4 pawn push to build a massive center. It might look slow, but it's packed with hidden traps and strategic ideas, putting its win rate at 49%. It's a tactical opening, about 40% strategic to 60% tactical, focusing on that central control. Though not mainstream, it has a fair bit of theory and has been used successfully at the grandmaster level. For example, Magnus Carlsen used it to win a game in 2013. White's plan is a bit slower, giving Black time for a quick counterpunch that 80% of players miss, so the initiative potential is medium-high. It scores a 9 out of 10 for style, a lot of traps and attacking potential, and because I used it a lot at beginner to intermediate level, I want to give it an S tier. You really need to try it. Next up is the center game with 2d4. This breaks classical principles by either bringing the queen out super early to fight for the center or sacrificing 1 to 2 pawns in the Danish gambit. Its main challenge is that the queen becomes a target, which White has to navigate carefully, but the win rate is surprisingly at 51%. It often leads to wild, open games, so it's primarily tactical, around 60% to 40% strategic. Though it's not popular at the top level today, it has been analyzed in classical literature and isn't as shallow as you might think, giving it a moderate theory depth. The big drawback is that Black gets to develop with tempo by kicking your queen around, so the initiative potential is only low-medium, except for the Danish gambit. A 6 out of 10 for style. It's direct, but the early queen shuffle can feel a bit clumsy. B tier. Last but not least, the Alapin opening, an opening that you might have never heard of. White plays the unusual 2 knight e2, keeping the f-pawn free to advance and aiming for a flexible setup. It avoids theory, supports d4, and often leads to offbeat, tricky middle games. The knight later hops to g3 or c3 depending on Black's setup. There are some traps and tricky variation, and an interesting middle game, but only 48% win rate. It is slightly more strategical than tactical. I would say 55% strategic, 45% tactical. Because of its lack of popularity, the theory depth is only shallow, but it allows a medium attacking potential if your opponent is not careful. I would give it a 4 out of 10. It will shock your opponent but can easily be refused at higher levels. If you enjoy creative positions and making your opponent think for themselves, This can be a fun addition. D tier. All right, the analysis is done. Tell me which opening I overrated, which one I disrespected, and what your personal S tier choice is. Now, remember, the best opening is the one you understand and truly enjoy playing. But if you want to play active, ambitious chess that puts your opponent under pressure from the very first moves, this list is your roadmap. And if you're enjoying this, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss our next breakdown. Thanks for watching.